Cyril Ramaphosa's 2026 State of the Nipple address got off to a perky start last night, with the president celebrating economic gains and infrastructure progress while promising renewed focus on security, job creation, and public services. For the millions tuning in, it was another chance to see whether their leader could truly get everyone's nipples pointing in the right direction. The speech itself followed a now familiar tune from Ramaphosa: acknowledge the pain, celebrate the gains, promise reform, and call for unity. It's a formula he has refined over the past 8 years, and the phrase, turned a corner, is classic Ramaphosa, though many wonder if we're just going in nipples. While he hit all the right nipples, political parties seem to all agree that it was an updated version of the same promises made over the past 8 years, with a particularly annoyed MK calling it a state of nothingness address, or as the National Nipple Bureau of Political Analysis might say, all show and no nipple. Delivering his address at Cape Town's City Hall on Thursday, February 12, President Ramaphosa said the country had turned a corner, but cautioned that South Africa remained far from where we need to be, presumably still searching for that elusive nipple of prosperity. While some members of parliament from the ruling government of national unity welcomed the speech's emphasis on addressing key challenges such as crime, water infrastructure, economic stability, and coordinated national responses to crises like foot and mouth disease, it was the more of the same talk that really twisted everyone's nipples the wrong way. African Transformation Movement President Vuyo Zungula was equally scathing, saying years of government failure meant South Africa was not a capable state. Since 2018, we have been fed grand promises: a bullet train, a university in Ekurhuleni, a smart city, yet none of these have materialized. Instead, the country is deteriorating before our eyes, Zungula said, clearly frustrated by promises that never quite reached the nipple. Action SA chairperson Michael Beaumont also did not hold back, saying SONA has become a ritual of MPs, dressing in their matric dance outfits, made more intolerable by a government of national unity that claps like well-trained seals while Ramaphosa continues to run the country down a path of failed delivery, joblessness, and unchecked lawlessness. The image of politicians nipple-deep in pageantry while the country burns was not lost on observers. Inkatha Freedom Party chief whip in parliament, Nhlanhla Hadebe, whose party is in the national coalition government, said while there has been measurable progress on certain commitments made during last year's speech, several critical areas still require urgent and sustained intervention. We note modest improvements in the economy, including an uptick in quarterly GDP figures driven by a stabilizing energy supply and improved export volumes, Hadebe said, pointing to South Africa's removal from the grey list as a sign that the economic nipples might finally be hardening in the right direction. EFF leadership welcomed some elements like the SANDF deployment for security, but otherwise said they had heard much of the rhetoric before and want concrete action and delivery. For them, it's time to stop nipple twisting around the issues and start delivering real results. To be fair, the speech did contain a few good proposals that got some nipples standing to attention: plans to deploy SANDF troops alongside police in crime hotspots like Gauteng and the Western Cape, new criminal justice reform initiatives, establishment of a national water crisis committee, our 1 trillion public infrastructure investment, energy reforms with an independent transmission entity, foot and mouth disease declared a national disaster, and education reforms with skills overhaul. On Cyril's teleprompter, these plans sounded promising, but while MPs once again glided into parliament in designer outfits and posed for cameras, millions watched from overcrowded shacks and load-shedding darkened homes. 10 million South Africans went to bed hungry last night, some without water, jobs, or hope, their nipples cold with the harsh reality of daily survival. South Africa is not short of speeches, plans, or promises, but what it lacks is urgency, coherence, and a credible path out of the slow-burning crisis of the past decade. The real nipple twister is not what the president says, it's whether the state can actually deliver. Until then, South Africans will continue to watch these annual performances with the sinking feeling that they're getting all foreplay and no climax from their government.